previous video, we actually addressed the vacuum leak we had right under the plenum. We actually replaced hoses. We actually sealed off a few things, the chamber as well. Check the previous video to see the full length of what happened on that repair. Ran the car for a few hundreds of miles, and check engine light came back on. Same code, P0400. A while ago, a few years ago, I actually paid quite a substantial amount of money to actually have the EGR valve removed, cleaned, reinstalled, so I could have this car done in emissions. That's why I decided to pay the shop money for it, because I was pressed in time. Now, I am going to address the EGR today, and for those that actually have the same type of vehicle, V6, Mazda 626, I believe from 93 to 97 or 93 to 2002, those that actually have the V6 configuration have the same type of engine. And for those that actually do not know, where is the EGR valve on this vehicle? EGR valve connector. You do have a long metal tube that goes to the exhaust manifold right on this bank. Hopefully we can take that out, or hopefully we can play with it enough for it to actually be cleaned out, reinserted, and keep it going. There is a gasket there that you guys need to save. Of course, there's a connector, squeeze and pull, and basically we're going to clean it with brake cleaner, carburetor cleaner or something of the sort. And this one has 2 bolts. They're 12 millimeter, by the way. Top one has a bracket, as you can hear. Hopefully you guys can see it. This is the bottom bolt, and by far this is the most difficult bolt that I had to take out on a car with so much stuff in the way, and that's as much as I can take out. This is 12 millimeter. This is the bottom one. I left the top one on so I can show you guys and see what we have in there. Clean it out. I'll take you guys along the way. For those that actually want or see where the rear transmission engine mount is this guy right here. I'll get you some light in there. Right behind where that connector is, right here. Sorry guys. You'll be fighting with that mount to take that bolt that I just showed you. And basically what I did is I tried to use a long 3/8 socket in there, 12 millimeter deep socket, and I broke the bolt loose, and then I took it out by hand all the way out. Wasn't that bad, but my hand got tired. It's just a tight fit in there, and I'll screw it out all the way out. So I'm gonna take that out. And for those that actually want to know how to get here, throttle body came out, gasket's still there. You have some cooling lines in there. This is a cooling line that goes to the throttle body, and there's another one that I put aside because it was leaking. I'll show you guys on the reassembly. But basically, you have a hose here, and I see it. There's the hose. That comes from the EGR. And the bottom one, down here, is also a cooling line. So, let me take that out and show you what's in there. Hopefully I am on the right track. And we may actually have to troubleshoot and see if that valve is actually functioning. If not, we have to look for a replacement, which is quite expensive. There are quite a few things here that I have accomplished. Again, and I took the intake manifold off, and here we go. We have a passage here, if I'm not mistaken. That's part of the EGR as well. EGR is back here, a little under the cylinder head, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the EGR passage. It goes through the head, and it actually gets recycled back into the intake manifold. Now that's dirty air, and for those that are wondering why is it that the intake manifold gets that sludge on its walls or passages inside, that is why. It's just, again, recirculated air, and some of that residue stays inside. Alright, so I decided to take you along, and I know that the EGR is working fine. I did some testing, but I can't take that EGR out of there. I just simply can't. It's there, and I'm just going to wedge it out a little bit. I'm going to put in a mirror so I can show you exactly what we have in there. The junk and sludge. Alright, here's a close-up of the EGR valve. I put a mirror inside so you can look the passage inside, and it's pretty dirty. Very, very, very dirty. So what I'm going to do is, without taking the EGR valve, because the tubing behind it, it is on it real tight, and the angle just does not permit me from taking that out of there. For those that are wondering, the EGR tubing that goes to the EGR itself is a 7/8 or a 22mm size to take that off. So I'm going to put some carburetor cleaner to clean that out. I'm also going to do a close inspection on the EGR port itself on the valve and clean it as much as I can. Let's see here. I'll see you guys in a few. Alright, I'm going to take you along here with what I have. So, that's a mirror looking inside of the head cylinder where the EGR passage goes through. Now basically what I did, I sprayed some of the carburetor cleaner through this port, and I confirmed that that's a EGR port, and I sprayed the heck out of it, and I did get some feedback over here, however somewhat restricted. And after cleaning it, I have a clean orifice where the EGR goes through the gases. Now, it was actually pretty crusty in there, pretty hard, and it just didn't want to leave where it was. So take like a wire or coat hanger, something solid that you can bend that is not going to break when you are scrubbing that little passage right there. Now, what I did in my end, I actually soaked it. And I use this fish tape, which is basically for fishing out electrical wires inside of walls, sheetrock plaster, or just basically just moving things around from one place to the other. And I just basically used it, and a lot of carbon came out. So I'm just going to put the EGR valve back together. Hopefully this solves my problem. I know now for a fact that everything is clean. And I'm going to show you some tests later on how to test the EGR valve. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This first row is pin 1, I believe it's 3, 5, 2, 4, 6. I'll show you in a diagram. And basically what you're looking for is for ohms resistance on this electrical solenoid valve. And basically we're looking for a resistance of 22 ohms. And I'll show you the diagram in a little bit. So it's just a matter of putting everything back together. I have a lot to put together, and just as a reminder, have the runners covered. I have mine covered. I just took them out because I'm going to put everything together. This is the EGR port, and we're just going to put everything together. Another cause of clogging for P0400, the EGR restriction flow, can be also behind the throttle body, which is this tube right here. Clean them out and just blast them with cleaner. If you actually, the way you know that if you actually clean it is when you spray the cleaner here, it should actually come through here. Same thing here. It may take a few attempts, but it should actually clean out. And it's the size of a pencil tip. Alright, also, here, this is your EGR passage. And just make sure that it's clean. No buildups, no nothing. I actually cleaned it, and throttle body cleaner, carburetor cleaner, I'm sorry, came out through here. So I knew I was having a clean passage. Plus, I actually put a wire in there and scrubbed the interiors. And I might just do it before I put it back in. Alright, as promised, here is the EGR connector. 135, odd size on the top, even size on the bottom, 246. And basically here, to check the EGR valve according to the instructions, you need to disconnect the electrical connection from the EGR valve itself, and you can just simply check the resistance between terminals 1 and 3, 3 and 5, 2 and 4, and 4 and 6. And basically it should actually give you an approximate of 22 ohms of resistance between the pins that are indicated in the bottom. If they actually did not check off around 22 ohms, replace the valve. For those that actually want to see the EGR valve from the bottom view of the car, from underneath, here we go. It actually shows you the unbolting points of the EGR. Two 12 millimeters and a 22 or 7/8 open wrench to take that bad tubing out, and should actually come off. It didn't come off for me, unfortunately. Best of luck to you if you actually are able to take it out.